Hey everyone, we're jumping into the affordable housing crisis today. And I have a feeling that if you think you know this story, well, the data is starting to tell a very, very different one.
So let's just start with a really direct question. When you hear the words affordable housing crisis, who do you picture? Seriously, who comes to mind? For decades, that answer felt pretty simple, right? It was a story about folks with the lowest incomes, people at or even below the poverty line. But that whole narrative, it's just not the full picture anymore. The crisis has started climbing the income ladder.
And that brings us right to the heart of what we're talking about today. The problem has changed. And, drawing from the sharp analysis of Delisa Alize, founder of Legal for Truth, what we're really seeing is that this has evolved. It's not just a safety net issue anymore, it is now a full-blown workforce crisis.
So how can we be so sure? Well, let's just follow the money. We're going to break down this huge gap that has opened up between what regular people are earning and what it actually costs to live in some of America's biggest cities.
Let's kick things off with the big one, New York City. I mean, we all know it's expensive, but when you see the numbers for a typical household, it is genuinely staggering.
Just look at this disconnect. The median household income in New York is about $93,000. Now think about who that is. That could be a teacher and a retail worker, a nurse, a city employee. But a living wage, what a family of four actually needs to live without constant financial stress, is way up at $135,000 to $165,000. They're not even in the same ballpark.
Now let's see how that plays out with rent. You've probably heard of the 30% rule, the idea that you should be spending more than 30% of your income on housing. Okay, so for that median NYC family, that's about $2,340 a month. The problem? The actual median rent is almost $3,400.
That leaves them with a gap of over $1,000 every single month. That is not a small difference. That is a budget-destroying crisis for the very people who make that city function.
And just so you don't think this is just a New York thing, let's hop over to the West Coast. The situation in Los Angeles tells pretty much the exact same story. In LA, a family earning the median income can afford rent of about $2,200 a month. But the market is asking for nearly $3,000. The specific numbers are different, sure, but the pattern is identical. The workforce is just being priced out.
So here, that monthly shortfall is $750. And again, this isn't a story about the absolute lowest earners. This is the reality for the median household, the very core of the workforce, who are caught in this mismatch between what they earn and what it costs to put a roof over their heads.
Okay, so the coasts are expensive, we get it. But this couldn't be happening in a place like Dallas, right? A city that's always been known for being a bit more affordable, a bit more balanced. Well, the data shows that pressure is building there too. Now, at first glance, Dallas looks like it's doing okay. You can see the actual median rent is currently under the affordability line for a medium-income family. But, and this is the important part, while the numbers work for now, this city is on the front lines of a national trend where that little bit of breathing room, it is shrinking, and it is shrinking fast.
And that really brings us to the bigger picture here. This squeeze on working families, it's not just a New York problem or an LA problem, it's systemic. It's happening all across the country, just playing out in slightly different ways. This little snapshot really tells the story. You've got the really intense affordability crisis in New York and LA. You've got Chicago, which is kind of on the edge. But look at the Sun Belt, places like Tampa and Phoenix. These are supposed to be the affordable places to go, and now their affordability is officially rated as declining and low. Why? Because rents are absolutely exploding there and wages just haven't caught up.
So here's the big takeaway. It doesn't really matter where you look. In the big coastal cities, even a really high income isn't enough anymore. And in the places that used to be affordable, like the Sunbelt, the middle class is getting crushed because housing costs are skyrocketing and wages just aren't keeping pace. It's the same pressure, just wearing a different disguise.
So what happens when we start to think about this differently? What happens when we stop seeing affordable housing as just a safety net for the poor and start seeing this as a direct threat to our economic engine, to our workforce? There's a technical term for this. It's called being cost-burdened. And for a long, long time, we really only applied that term to a specific slice of the low-income population. But what all this data shows is that being cost-burdened is rapidly becoming the new normal for the median income workers who make our biggest cities run. And the economic consequences of that are huge. It messes with the labor market. Essential workers like nurses and firefighters can't even afford to live in the cities they serve.
It creates massive financial fragility, with families having to take on debt just to pay rent, which means savings are wiped out. And it even has these huge demographic effects, as people put off buying a home or even starting a family because they just can't afford it.
So this is really the bottom line. When the people earning the median income can no longer afford the median rent, the problem is graduated. This is not about social assistance programs anymore. This is about the fundamental health of our labor markets and the stability of the entire economy.
So I'll just leave you with this one question to chew on. A city, it's its people, right? It's the workers, the families. So when those very people, the engine of the city, can no longer afford to live there, what's left? What happens to the city itself?